Grimdark, interplanetary war, chainswords, 8-foot religious monster men, space orcs, corrupted elves, demons, robots, more robots, models, books, games, insanely talented fan films, exterminators. What is this? We're going to take the deepest of dives into this mammoth of a franchise and ask why it is that so many people have dedicated so much time to this singular fictional universe. Chapter 1. My eyes were opened to the Grimdark. My first introduction to this hobby was many a moon ago, when a spottier, skinnier and moppier-haired version of myself walked the halls of my high school. Our head teacher had set up a club, along with a couple of students, called Warhammer Club. I didn't know much about it other than those students were excessively nerdy, and they didn't seem to care. They had some small models that looked like spacemen with guns. I didn't take much notice until my best friend, who was a huge Airfix model enthusiast at the time, had started collecting some of these space guys. He had them all lined up, nicely painted with tanks and bikes. For years, pretty much until a few months ago, that's all I thought there was to it. Models of spacemen with tanks that you collected. Then I came across a video that flipped everything on its head.
Nothing in this universe is simple. You might look at a space marine and think to yourself, okay, I get it, you know, this is a Buzz Lightyear looking ass dude with a gun. What else is there to understand here? But then you find out in the canon that they are 8 feet tall, they can breathe underwater, and also spit acid, because nothing's allowed to be normal in this universe.
Look at all this storytelling. It's rich, interesting, expansive.
Oh, I'm sorry, you thought this was just a normal orc? Well, you're a fool then, you're a complete moron, because these orcs actually generate an immensely powerful psychic aura that makes it so whatever they collectively believe becomes true. If they believe that their ramshackle duct tape airship will fly, then it will. They all believe that red cars go faster, so for them, they do.
I spent countless hours listening to lore videos from Luton09, and watched the insanely talented Astartes series, which combined my love of sci-fi, storytelling, and filmmaking. That was it. I was hooked. Let me explain why. Chapter 2. 38 Years of Intergalactic War Stories. Warhammer's first edition was in 1982. The fantasy tabletop war game experience was written by Brian Ansell, Richard Halliwell, and Rick Priestley. It was the first game designed to use proprietary models. Before this, tabletop miniature games were based around generic models that you could buy from any manufacturer. This created a system where a player could buy both the models and the updated rules from Games Workshop, who, in turn, would take twice the profit. This fantasy game was exceptionally popular, with dwarves, elves, humans, and demons all battling out in large armies on diorama tables. It gave so many fans a sense of being the commander of armies that they've crafted and painted themselves. Over the years, more and more editions were released, even spinning off to another version of the game, simply named Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader in 1987. This sci-fi spin-off took the focus away from wargaming and put it into role-playing. Factions included Space Marines, Imperial Army, Eldar, Orcs, Squats, and Tyranids. This clearly resonated with fans as they began to make buckets of cash, releasing new editions and models year after year, right up until the modern day. This included new factions such as Adeptus Mechanicus, Chaos Space Marines, Tau Empire, Drukhari, Necrons, Grey Knights, Adeptus Custodes, Imperial Knights, Chaos Demons, Inquisitors, Craft Worlds, Harlequins. With so many factions and models to choose from, there really is something for everyone. Like muscle-bound, green men who fight each other as much as they fight their enemies, use their teeth as currency, and if they collectively believe in something, it makes it true. Orcs. Maybe you prefer 8-foot genetically engineered marines wielding chainswords and huge bolter guns, who are sworn to remove every alien or anyone who doesn't believe in their religion from the face of the universe in the name of their god emperor? Space Marines. Or you can have classic army tactics, commanders, artillery fire in the air, swarms of infantry on the ground, with Astra Militarum, What about a bug swarm? Tyranids. What about space communism?
It's all about the greater good.
Get yourself some Tau Empire, my friend. Because of the variety, expansion, and accessibility, there has been a lot of media created with the Warhammer 40,000 name attached. 590 books, 39 games, some great, some not so great, and over 900 models. There are also countless incredible content creators dedicated to just this one hobby in its entirety. This includes talented model painters, terrain crafters, lore specialists, gamers, tabletop tacticians, tournament organisers, fan films, and of course, the meme lords.
Dr. Moyer.
These are my machines!
Sir.
My machines!
Whose machines?
My machines!
How is that helpful?
They're my machines!
Chapter 3. The Community.
Well, originally I encountered Warhammer when I was just in a model shop with my dad in this town called Ashby-de-la-Zouch, which is in Derbyshire. And, I was into model aeroplanes and things like that. And they had a little stack of these pamphlets that actually was in the second edition of Warhammer 40,000's core box, and it was like how to play, really simple stuff. And I saw Space Marines, and I thought they were the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because at the time I was really into airplanes and model kits and stuff like that, but I was also really into Star Wars, and I saw a Space Marine. I was like, wow, that's like a stormtrooper but way deadlier. So I just had to know more about them. So over the course of that week I was just carrying this pamphlet around with me everywhere, and this was before the internet was easy access. This was in it was a long time ago now. And the next weekend, my dad knew that there was a Games Workshop in Derby, so he took me there on Saturday, and in I went, and I bought my first box of Space Marines, which cost me £5, and you got 6 Space Marines that were plastic ones that you just glued together, and I thought they were amazing, and it just drew me in. And for a whole host of years, that's what I do. I just paint these miniatures, just like have fun with them, read the lore. I'd try and play the game, but I wouldn't really understand what I was doing. But I had fun with it, and it wasn't until the 3rd edition of the game came along and I was a bit older that I actually really started playing it properly. But it was the lore, as a story, and the appearance of it really gripped me into it, and the fact you could inject it with your own creativity is what really kind of absorbed me and has held me all this time, I guess.
So my partner is big into it. I think he hid it from me for a long time. He said he was into gaming. It's just not quite what I expected. But I've always been into computer games like forever anyway, and I've haven't done anything art related, but I consider myself a little bit artsy anyway. So he started up his YouTube channel, Broadsword Wargaming. So he was like, "Do you want to come in and just paint something?" So I was like, I don't know, I can see myself painting, but I can definitely never see myself playing. So I painted that model, and that went up, and I ended up chatting to a few people in the comment section. They were like, you know what, that's not bad, like that's good. I was like, okay, I can do that. So I painted a couple more at home, and I got into it. Like I started to figure out the colors. I was like, there was some weird connections, because I used to bake cakes. I used to have like a cake decorating thing on Facebook, and the amount of tools and techniques that were similar, I was like, I can do this. This is fine. This is like doing makeup or doing cakes. I can do it. It's easy. And I just really enjoyed doing it. So then I decided to start an Instagram, and I didn't expect anything of it. It's still quite small, but I said it'll be really fun to just put my first ones on there. And I'm so glad I did it, because now I can go back and look at the progress I've made.
I have an old friend, Alex. I won't give his full name, just to keep him anonymous. We went to school together, we grew up, and I went round to his house one Friday afternoon, just after school, and he showed me, it was the Assault on Black Reach box set he'd just bought. It was the Space Marines and the Orcs. And he sat down and was just like, oh, mate, see this, it's so cool. And so then we sat and painted, terribly painted, I may add, some Space Marines. And I'm not sure what initially just drew me to them. We just picked them and we started painting them. And then after that, the week after, I went and I got my own set, and then we just started making it a weekly thing, just sitting and painting them together. It was really cool.
Over the last few years, I've enjoyed the Imperial Knights the most, because I've got a bit of a thing for knights. Like anyone who knows me will tell you, I really like knightly stuff. So I've been enjoying the giant robots in 40k. But I've got a real soft spot for Necrons too. ever since they came along, and seeing them develop. The new iteration of them is wonderful. The kind of the aged effects they put on them and the sort of shambling appearance that the Warriors have got. That's really nice. So I've got my eye on them.
We picked the Space Marines initially because technically they're the good guys. Like, and I say that loosely because no one's really good in the 40k universe, but they are the poster boys of mankind, and they are, genetically better, and they are superhuman. And I think that's what kind of drew us to them initially, was that they are just so powerful and they just kick ass, and they're outnumbered always, but they always, prevail. And so I think that was initially, again, from a painting perspective as well, I think they're fantastic in terms of sculpted. They're quite good for beginners because it's lots of flat panels, but then as you develop, that's a lot of space for freehand and kind of elevated techniques. So I like them for that. That's why I've continued painting them. I think I always see them as a blank canvas that you can show off on.
I think my favourite are the Untamed Beasts from Warcry. They're one of the first ones I painted, so it could be sentimental, but I wish I could go back and paint them again because I know I do a better job with them, and I've played with them a few times, and they're just... I like their style. There's not too much tactics with them. They just go in and smash, and that's it.
In terms of mental health, I think it's really helped me. When I'm painting, because I'm predominantly a painter, when I'm sat painting, it's a mindset that you get into where you just kind of, all levels of distraction just kind of erase, and you just focus purely on getting this model done to the best of your ability. For me, it is anyway. And I just love that you kind of, everything that you're worried about, anything that's kind of weighing on you that day, you can just put it aside for that hour, 2 hours, however long you sit and paint. So that really does help me, especially if I'm going through difficult times. And also, again, there's the social aspect. It's a really good, any kind of conversation to have. It's always best to have a medium to help you. So if it's video games, you sat with your buddies on the couch. With this, you just sat over a table, just shooting the. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, if you're shooting the with your mates, and you've got your models on there, and you can just tell a fun story with them.
For mental health, I think it's a really good thing because it's a very personal experience painting your miniatures, and it allows you to, as I was saying, like breathe your personality into something. And I find that when I'm doing it, or with the painting, I find that I become very calm and relaxed. So it doesn't matter if I'm stressed or anything like that. I just get to basically enjoy that experience in the here and now of doing the model. And then when you play a game with somebody, you have so players all play for different kind of reasons. They've all got their own things that they prefer. So you can get opponents who mismatch against each other, which leads to poor games, but you get games as well where people connect on the same level, and in those games you find people suddenly become surprisingly close in how they're thinking. So through that kind of experience, I've actually found that most of my close friends I've met through this course of action. So like everyone I see on a regular basis, everyone I talk to on a regular basis, it's all through because I played games of Warhammer with them and we just hit it off. And we just like to meet up and play that game, and over time it becomes like the game is just sort of a thing that you're actually having the social interaction around. So it's kind of an excuse for getting together. So it's quite curious how that sort of melds itself. But yeah, I've had so many great experiences in life that I simply would not have had I not gone into that hobby shop at Ashby de la Zouch and started painting Space Marines.
Yeah.
I think for me, because everything I've been into in the past has been very solo and closed off, like sitting and playing a game or playing the Switch or doing something like that. This for me socially has been the biggest thing that's probably ever happened, because before you get into Warhammer, when you think about it, you think, oh, it's just people that play board games or whatever. But once you like dip your toe in, you realize there's so many people of all ages, and you get excited to share. And this is with lockdown and everything. Like, I don't have to leave my house for this, but I've probably spoken to more people in the last 6 months than I have done in the last 5 years, So it just feels good to have something to share with people. And it doesn't matter if you're new and they're not, that can be of benefit to you. That, and like physically sitting there and painting, is really soothing and calming. It's something that can really take your mind. If you've got a lot of stuff going on, putting paint to model is really helpful and calming for me anyway. It's like visual ASMR or something, I don't know.
That's exactly how I describe it as well. Yeah.
Over the years with Warhammer TV and now with the channel I do, the Roger, the Painting Academy, we've heard all kinds of stories of people around the world who are going through different sorts of situations, and they'll face real genuine difficulties, and they find painting models is a great way of just relaxing and basically feeling okay. And the weird thing is they'll watch our videos, and it feels like I'm there talking to them. And so they sort of develop a personal relationship with me, even though I'm not necessarily aware of it. And then every now and then I'll encounter them, either I might meet them at a show, or they'll send us an email, which, anyone out there, I encourage them to do so. And you get to have that really nice connection with them, and it's actually quite incredible. So, I mean, on our forums, on our website, we have a forum, and on there today, a lady who calls herself the Real Iron Hand is painting Iron Hand Space Marines, who are all about robotics and things. And she was in a motorbike accident and lost an arm. And, painting miniatures has been part of the recovery of, sort of recovering that dexterity, learning to use a left hand instead, all this kind of thing. Like, that's incredible. I've talked to people who have lost loved ones, and when they're going through the devastating situation of it, they find that their hobby is kind of an area where they feel okay, and it helps them process all these emotions. I've met people who are veterans of wars, and they have things like post-traumatic stress disorder, and again, painting the models helps them through it. So it's I guess there is a bit of a social stigma sometimes thinking about it. And in fact, even painting these miniatures can be seen kind of nerdy, and there's a stigma attached with that. But I think it's a really nice thing that allows someone to basically be by themselves and be calm. So it's quite remarkable, really. When you think it's just like painting toy soldiers, but there's so much that goes into it as well.
I found that the Twitch is benefiting me greatly in that if I haven't painted all week, you get out of the habit of doing it, and then it seems like a big thing. You're like, I can't even remember what colors I was doing. I don't feel like picking it up now because I'm just not into it. But if I've set stream for like Sunday, I know I have to sit and do it, and 10 minutes into it, I'm loving it again, and I'll probably do it for the next 3 days. It boosts my mood. It gives me something to look forward to. It gives me a reason to do things. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can't go out and paint with my models, at least I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to post this and show the guys, and they'll be like, yeah, that turned out the way we thought it would. I'm like, yeah, it's really good. Or I'm like, help me, this looks really crap. What am I doing? And then they'll help me. Do you know what I mean? So it's that's kind of my goal now, is to just keep networking with people and keep meeting people and building these connections.
Part of the content is so fun to make. I love painting. One of the most enjoyable things for me, and I've only started experiencing this recently, I'll post a picture and people really engage with it, and they'll be asking how I painted it, what kind of colours I'm using, what techniques. A lot of people have been asking for techniques on edge highlighting, because I really like my edge highlighting, and I focus on that a lot. And it's really lovely, I think. So it's an honour to be asked for that advice. And another, it's really nice to be able to help them progress. So I think every time I get something like that, it spurs me on to carry on. I'm quite stubborn as well, so I will prevail. In hopeless defeat, I will keep going. So I think a lot of it was just that stubbornness as well. But recently, it's been really, really rewarding in terms of that.
For people who are thinking about getting into it and doing it, I think starting on a Facebook page or in an Instagram, or just making something like that and giving yourself a name on there and tracking your progress is the key to doing it. And also, if you're feeling totally overwhelmed by what to choose, and the terminology, the armies, everything, you don't know where to start, go into a shop, and whatever takes your fancy, like whatever looks cool, just buy it. And whether it's not going to make up a whole army, but you can then learn about that. Do you know what I mean? Paint it, put it on Instagram, see where it gets you. And that'll be your starting point and your entry point. It was for me. I'm sure other people have other ways of getting into it. But that's kind of how it worked. And when I've said that to a few people, they've said it's the rule of cool, which I had never heard of. But literally, like, if you think it looks cool, just buy it. You don't need to worry about, oh, will this hold up well, in an army, or will this do that? Just buy it if you like it. That's the only way to start, really, I think.
There's a number of channels that are really good for high-end painting, and there's quite a lot of them. The first that comes to mind, I guess, would be Miniac. There's also Midwinter Minis. There's Squidmar as well. Those guys they do a lot of high-end painting. So the stuff that Roger and I tend to do tends to be sort of like, I guess, what we'd call tabletop standard, but kind of like with the options to take it up to a very high tabletop standard. So we're sort of like aiming for the broad range of people wanting to learn these skills. But there's a number of guys who take things to a very, very high competition level. So there's plenty of guys out there for that. Also, I'd like to, I suppose, mention my good friend Chris Peach, who is still working at Games Workshop at Warhammer TV. He's an absolutely fantastic guy, and I trust his advice to the end of the world.
Miniac on YouTube. I love Miniac. I also on Instagram think he's Miniacal. Miniacal. I think. He painted most recently a Hawklord's Blade Guard veteran, and I loved it so much. I painted my own Hawklord, and that's going to go on my Instagram. I'm going to post it just after this. That's the one I sent to you. I loved that colour scheme he did. So he's awesome. You've done Duncan. Duncan's great. I loved him in his Games Workshop days, and I love it now that he's branching out. So the guys on the Warhammer TV, you got Nick and Peachy, and I love both of their stuff. They're really cool to watch, and those tutorials are great for all kinds of stages. It's really helped me progress. Going even further to the next level, Darren Latham, who is a former heavy metal painter and now sculptor, did the recent Shard of Seatan model, which is immense. That's so cool. I'm actually scared. I don't think I could ever paint that. It's so scary. His YouTube content that he made, he stopped now, but his YouTube channel's still up. And he's got some really advanced level, like masterclasses as they were, and that really helped me because it was a lot of insider tips and tricks that it was nice to hear and see, especially as a self-taught painter. It was really cool. Epic Duck Studios. It really inspired me back in the day. I was probably 14 when they did an Ultramarines Assault Terminator paint job, and it was their Quick and Dirty series. So 30 minutes they threw out a model. And it was still better than I did after hours and hours and hours. But yeah, Epic Duck Studios is another really awesome one as well.
Cool.
Beyond that, there's a lot of terrain people. There's Luke's APS. I love his stuff, and I buy his Geek Gaming content as well, which is Broadsword Gaming, who is is a friend of Luke's and spiraled off there. So I want to thank all those guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. Once I became hooked, I went into a Warhammer store for the very first time in my life, and I spoke to the manager. He was a delight, so helpful to somebody, especially as I was completely new to the hobby, and he helped me get started with my grungy orc boys. While priming and painting my small warband, I connected with the community online. They were extremely nice, funny, and encouraging. Every question answered, despite my orc-loving Xenos heresy. All the content creators I recommend and have appeared in this video will be in the description. Please check them out. They've helped me fall into this hobby, and I'm sure they'd help you do the same. If I've forgotten anyone, mention them in the comments. I love the escapism of hobbies like these. Storytelling, painting, it's all good for the soul and mental health, which in times like this is much needed. If you've liked this video, please do consider subscribing and leaving a like. You'll be making my day as well as helping the channel. All my social links are in the description. Be safe, push on, and know there's a story for everyone.